They sent her as a joke bride to a human, but she returned carrying the future of two worlds. The stars hung motionless beyond the viewport, scattered like frozen sparks against the endless dark. Commander Mara Keen stood on the bridge of the Terran flagship Resolute, her reflection faintly ghosted over the void. Her posture was perfect, shoulders back, chin lifted, eyes steady. She had learned early that confidence often mattered more than comfort. Beside her, Lieutenant Rios tapped a sequence on his datapad. Incoming Aurelian vessel, Commander. They're requesting docking clearance ahead of schedule. Of course they are, Mara murmured. They like to keep us off balance. The Aurelians were known for their beauty, their diplomacy, and their arrogance. They spoke in soft tones and acted like every negotiation was theater. The humans, in their eyes, were newcomers, clever apes with fast ships and no manners. Today's meeting was supposed to be simple: finalize trade routes, exchange pleasantries, sign the new cooperation treaty. But the Aurelians had a reputation for surprises, and Mara didn't trust surprises. Docking approved, she said. And have the honor guard ready. Full dress uniform. Minutes later, the docking bay glowed under white floodlights as the Aurelian ship locked into place. The air shimmered as the pressure equalized. A low hiss, a mechanical click, and the airlock opened. 3 Aurelians emerged first. Tall, pale, luminous. Their smooth silver skin caught the light like liquid metal, their eyes like drops of molten gold. Behind them came attendants in flowing robes, carrying slender cases and data scrolls. At the front was Ambassador Sereth, his expression polite but sharp, as if every word was a blade he had already weighed in his hand. Commander Keen, Sereth said, inclining his head slightly. On behalf of the Aurelian Concord, I bring you greetings and a gift. Mara returned the bow with equal precision. The Terran Alliance welcomes you aboard Resolute. What kind of gift? Sereth smiled thinly. A living one. From behind the attendants, another figure stepped forward, smaller, more delicate. Her skin glowed faintly violet, not silver. Her hair was a cascade of pale light, shifting like silk underwater. Her eyes shimmered with strange color, neither gold nor blue but something alive between them. This is Sci-fi of House Thalen, Sereth said. A scholar and cultural observer. She has volunteered to serve as liaison between our species and as your ceremonial bond partner. The room froze. The Terran officers stiffened, unsure if they had heard correctly. Bond partner. In Aurelian culture, that meant something between ambassador and spouse. Mara didn't flinch. Her face remained calm, her tone neutral. A generous gesture, she said evenly. The Alliance accepts your liaison. Sereth blinked. That wasn't the reaction he'd expected. He had hoped for shock or anger. A rejection he could spin as insult. Instead, the human commander smiled, and it was not a gentle smile. Lieutenant Rios, Mara said smoothly. Prepare quarters for our guest. As the delegation moved away, Rios whispered. Commander, you can't be serious. They're mocking us. Oh, I'm very serious, she replied. Let's see how funny they find their own joke when it doesn't go the way they planned. Later, when the corridors had quieted, Mara walked Celare to her quarters. The soft lights reflected off Celare's glowing skin, painting the metal walls with hues of lavender and gold. I'm sorry for the awkward welcome, Mara said as the door slid open. I understand you didn't choose this. Celare turned to her, eyes bright and unreadable. Don't be so certain, Commander. I chose this mission, though perhaps not in the way they think. Mara studied her face. You volunteered to be their joke? Celare's lips curved slightly. I volunteered to see if the joke had truth. There was silence, not tense, but charged, like the pause before lightning. Mara found herself searching those strange eyes, seeing intelligence there. Curiosity. Defiance. Well, Mara said finally, I hope you enjoy your stay. You'll find humans are not easily humiliated. Celare smiled, a flicker of light across her skin. I suspect I'll find humans are many things not easily defined. When the door closed behind her, Mara exhaled slowly. She had handled political traps, alien threats, and battles at the edge of mapped space. But this felt different. Personal. Dangerous in a way she couldn't name. On the bridge, the Aurelian ship detached and drifted into orbit, its sleek hull gleaming like a smirk in the dark. Mara watched it go and whispered to herself, "You sent me a problem, Seraph. Let's see who solves who." The Resolute hummed softly, engine steady, unaware that something far greater than diplomacy had just begun. The next morning aboard the Resolute began like any other. The ship's artificial dawn crept through the corridors, bathing the metal walls in warm light. But to Commander Mara Keen, nothing felt normal. Not after the gift she'd been handed the day before. She found herself standing outside Sci-fi's quarters, hesitating. She wasn't sure if she was here as a diplomat, a scientist, or a woman curious about an alien who looked at her like she was something to be studied and admired at the same time. The door opened before she could knock. Sci-fi stood by the viewport, her skin glowing faintly violet under the starlight. The room around her looked untouched, perfectly neat, except for a single book lying open on the table. Earth Literature, Classic Human Emotions. Couldn't sleep? Mara asked, stepping inside. Sci-fi turned, the faintest smile tugging at her lips. Your ship hums when it dreams. It's soothing. Mara chuckled softly. That hum keeps us alive. Air, gravity, life support, the song of survival. Sci-fi studied her for a moment, head slightly tilted. That's very human. To find poetry even in machinery. Mara folded her arms. We build beauty out of what tries to kill us. The alien's eyes flickered, as if noting that down mentally. That explains much. Later that day, they walked together through the observation deck, a massive transparent dome overlooking the stars. The galaxy spread around them like spilled light. Sci-fi moved with the slow grace of someone born under lesser gravity. Your people spread fast, she said quietly. In 2 centuries, you've touched more systems than the Aurelians have in 1,000. Because we had to, Mara replied. We had nowhere else to go but forward. Sci-fi turned to face her. And when you run out of forward? Then we build more of it, Mara said simply. The alien looked almost amused. You sound as if you can shape the universe itself. Mara smiled faintly. We don't shape it. We refuse to be shaped by it. For a long moment, neither spoke. The stars outside reflected in Sci-fi's eyes, making them look like twin galaxies. Then she said, You speak like a commander who's fought too many wars. Mara's smile faded. Maybe I have. That evening, they met again, this time in the mess hall, long after most of the crew had gone to rest. Sci-fi sat at a table near the viewport, studying the flickering patterns on a cup of glowing liquid that pulsed faintly with color. What is that? Mara asked, sitting across from her. Starleaf extract. It mirrors mood. It helps Aurelians meditate. She looked up. It's turning orange. That means curiosity. Mara raised an eyebrow. What color would it be for distrust? Black, Sci-fi said softly. Or red, depending on the danger. Mara grinned. Let's hope it stays orange then. Sci-fi's laugh was quiet but genuine, a clear, ringing sound like chimes in the air. You humans are strange. You joke when others would bow or break. It's how we survive, Mara replied. Humor and stubbornness, our greatest weapons. The Aurelian nodded slowly. Your people make fear into art. Sometimes, Mara said, leaning forward. We even turn humiliation into power. Sci-fi's expression softened. You still think of me as a humiliation. Maybe not you, Mara admitted. But your council wanted me to be the punchline of a political joke. Then perhaps the joke will be on them, Sci-fi said quietly. Her voice carried a weight that made Mara's heart beat faster. She looked at the alien woman, at her poise, her intelligence, and that quiet spark of rebellion. There was something more here. Something not even the Aurelian ambassador understood. In the following days, Sci-fi became a quiet presence aboard the ship. The crew grew used to her floating through the corridors, asking gentle, strange questions. She spent hours in the engine room, listening to the pulse of the reactor. She watched the pilots train in the simulation pods. She even joined the engineers in the hydroponics bay, her fingers brushing the leaves like she was meeting them for the first time. And every night, she met with Mara, under the soft glow of the observation deck or the quiet hum of the commander's office. They talked about everything: human ambition, Aurelian pride, loneliness among the stars. Your people chase meaning like it's oxygen, Sci-fi observed once. Maybe because we almost lost both, Mara replied. Sci-fi's gaze lingered on her. You think survival and meaning are the same. They are, Mara said. Without one, the other doesn't matter. On the 7th evening, Sci-fi brought something new, a small crystalline device that shimmered like frozen light. It's an Aurelian thought prism, she explained. It records emotions, not words. Just what you feel. She placed it between them. Touch it. Mara hesitated, then reached out. The surface was cool at first, then warm. A faint glow spread beneath her fingertips, pulsing like a heartbeat. The crystal shifted from pale silver to deep amber. Sci-fi watched it carefully. Amber means courage. Mara's lips curved. That's good, right? It's rare, Sci-fi said. Especially in those who already carry command. Their eyes met, and for a heartbeat, the air between them felt electric. It wasn't war or politics or even science. It was something simpler, curiosity meeting its reflection. And somewhere, deep inside the ship, the Resolute hummed softly, as if it knew that something extraordinary was beginning to unfold between two beings who were never meant to meet. The Resolute drifted through the silent dark of space like a sleeping beast. Outside, the stars glittered cold and still. Inside, the air buzzed softly with the steady rhythm of life, machines breathing, engines murmuring, hearts beating. Commander Mara Keen hadn't slept well in days. Something about Sci-fi unsettled her, not in a dangerous way, but in a way she couldn't ignore. The alien's calm curiosity hid a quiet tension, a kind of controlled chaos. Mara had seen that look before, in Soldiers Before a Storm. That morning, Sci-fi didn't come to the daily briefing. Not unusual for a diplomat, but enough to stir Mara's concern. She found herself walking down the polished corridors towards Sci-fi's quarters, pretending she just happened to be nearby. When the door slid open, she froze. Sci-fi stood before the mirror, her glowing skin dimmer than usual. Her reflection shimmered, faint waves of light moving beneath her surface, like fireflies trapped under glass. Mara, Sci-fi said softly, startled but not afraid. You shouldn't be here. I was checking in, Mara replied. You don't look well. Sci-fi turned away from the mirror, her movements slow and careful. I'm adjusting to your environment. Adjusting? Mara stepped closer. We calibrated everything to your biology. I know. Sci-fi's voice was steady, but her eyes flickered with unease. Perhaps my body decided to adjust further. An hour later, she was sitting on a medical bed in Dr. Ishan Patel's lab. The hum of scanners filled the air while the doctor studied the readings. Mara stood nearby, arms crossed, jaw tight. Her cellular activity is changing, Patel murmured. Look here. He turned the hollow display toward Mara. The magnified view showed glowing Aurelian cells splitting and reshaping, each one forming new connections, weaving in unknown patterns. Changing how? Mara asked. Patel hesitated. Adapting, but not randomly. It's as if her body found a new blueprint and is rewriting itself. Sci-fi sat silently, eyes closed. It's not pain, she said quietly. Just heat, a pulse, as if every cell is learning a new rhythm. Patel looked at her with scientific awe. You said your species has adaptive physiology? Sci-fi nodded. Yes, but only to environment. Temperature, radiation, pressure. Not this. Mara stepped closer. What caused it? Sci-fi's gaze met hers. I don't know. Perhaps contact. Perhaps curiosity taken too far. Their eyes held. The room suddenly felt smaller. Over the next 2 days, the changes deepened. Sci-fi's irises shifted color with every emotion. Soft blue when calm, fiery gold when anxious. Her heartbeat grew closer to human rhythm. Her blood tests confused even the ship's AI. Half data human software couldn't classify. Mara tried to keep it quiet, but ships were living things. Secrets leaked through steel. Whispers spread that the alien bride was ill, that she carried something contagious, that the commander was hiding it. When the rumors reached the Aurelian ambassador on the diplomatic channel, his tone was razor sharp. Commander Keen, the Concorde has detected irregular biosignatures from our liaison. We request immediate return to our custody. Mara kept her voice calm. Sci-fi remains under medical observation. She's not a prisoner, but she's not leaving my ship until she's stable. You overstep your authority, Sereth hissed. She is Aurelian. Mara leaned closer to the screen. She's also a guest on a Terran ship. You wanted a cultural exchange. You've got one. She cut the transmission before he could reply. That night, Sci-fi sat alone by the viewport in Mara's quarters. The stars outside shimmered faintly blue, their light catching in her shifting eyes. She looked fragile and powerful at the same time. Mara entered quietly, carrying 2 mugs of dark Terran coffee. She handed one over. Caffeine helps humans think. Maybe it'll help you too. Sci-fi smiled faintly. Or maybe it'll make me more human than I already am. Mara frowned. Don't say that like it's a bad thing. It's not bad, Sci-fi whispered. It's impossible. She turned her palm upward. Her skin glowed softly, patterns of light forming like constellations beneath the surface. My cells are learning you, she said. Your air, your food, even your touch. My body adapts faster when I'm near you. Mara felt her heartbeat pick up. Are you saying this is because of me? I don't know, Sci-fi said honestly. But when I touched your hand in the observation deck, something changed inside me. It felt like a key turned. The silence that followed was heavy with questions neither could ask. Later, when Mara left her quarters, she stopped by the observation window and stared at the void. Humanity had always been the learner, the imitator, the species trying to catch up to the galaxy's giants. But now something different was happening. An alien, the product of a species older and wiser, was adapting to them. And deep down, Mara felt a surge of something fierce and proud rise within her. Humanity wasn't just surviving anymore. They were changing the universe, cell by cell, heart by heart. Far behind her, in the medical bay, the scanners pulsed again, and for the first time, they registered something new, a faint secondary heartbeat, perfectly synchronized with Sci-fi's own. The Resolute had grown quieter since the news broke, or rather, since it began to whisper. Whispers on a starship were like cracks in steel, they spread fast. Crew members who once smiled at Sci-fi and now fell silent when she passed. A few stared. Most avoided eye contact. Commander Mara Keen knew it was only a matter of time before the wrong person asked the right question. She stood in her office, arms folded, staring at the hollow display on her desk. Medical readings pulsed in soft blue light, 2 rhythmic patterns, almost identical. One belonged to Sci-fi, the other, impossibly, to something growing inside her. Dr. Ishan Patel's voice came through the comm. Commander, we need to talk, privately. Come in, Mara said. The door slid open, and the doctor entered with the tight look of someone holding back a hurricane. Her physiology's stabilizing, he said, but there's no denying it now. The secondary heartbeat is real. It's developing fast. Mara felt the air thicken around her. How fast? At this rate, weeks, not months. And her cells keep adapting, building new genetic bridges. Commander, Patel hesitated. It's not just her body reacting. It's evolution, guided by contact. Mara exhaled. Then she's not sick. No, he said quietly. She's becoming something new. That night, Mara walked to the observation deck, where Sci-fi sat curled near the viewport, her skin glowing faint violet under the starlight. She looked smaller now, fragile, exhausted, but her eyes still held that calm intelligence that made Mara both curious and protective. They're afraid of me, Sci-fi said softly without turning. They're afraid of what they don't understand, Mara replied, sitting beside her. Do you understand it? Sci-fi asked. Not yet, Mara admitted. But I'm not afraid. Sci-fi smiled faintly. That's what makes humans dangerous. Mara turned her head, studying her. You mean brave? Bravery and danger are 2 sides of the same coin, Sci-fi said. Your people throw themselves into the unknown, not because you're fearless, but because you refuse to let fear stop you. It's admirable. Mara reached out, resting a hand gently over Sci-fi's glowing one. Then let's make that refusal count. The next morning, she called a private meeting in her quarters. Only 4 people arrived. Dr. Patel, Lieutenant Rios, Chief Engineer Kaya Dunn, and Science Officer Emil Vargas, her most trusted crew. The air in the room buzzed with tension. What I'm about to say, Mara began, doesn't leave this room. Not in a report, not in a log, not in a whisper. Rios leaned forward. Commander, if this is about the Aurelian envoy, it's about Sci-fi, Mara interrupted. And what's growing inside her? A shocked silence filled the room. Patel displayed the medical scan, the twin rhythms. Rios's eyes widened. Kaya swore under her breath. A hybrid, Vargas whispered. Human and Aurelian? Patel nodded slowly. At least partly. It shouldn't be possible. Kaya folded her arms. Then we make it possible to protect it. Mara looked at them one by one. The Aurelians will come for her. They'll call it contamination. Or worse, theft. If they find out before we're ready, they'll take her apart just to prove they were right about us. Rios clenched his jaw. Then we don't give them that chance. The plan formed quickly, part science, part rebellion. Dr. Patel would monitor Sci-fi under complete blackout protocols. Kaya would rewire her quarters, rerouting life support sensors to loop false readings. Rios would encrypt the medical data inside a hidden diagnostic subroutine, invisible to Aurelian scans. They called it Project Haven. Why are you all doing this? Sci-fi asked later, when Mara told her. I'm not human. I'm not one of you. Mara shook her head. That's not how humanity works. When someone's under our protection, they stay that way. Sci-fi's eyes shimmered with tears she didn't understand. You risk everything for me. Not for you, Mara said softly. For what you mean. For what comes next. Days turned into a quiet rhythm of secrecy. The crew noticed little things, restricted areas, quiet orders, power fluctuations that made no sense. But no one questioned her directly. The Resolute had always been Mara's ship, and loyalty ran deep. Still, the Aurelians weren't blind. On the 5th day, a message arrived from Ambassador Sereth. Commander Keen, his voice crackled over the hollow, cold as starlight. We detect inconsistencies in your medical transmissions. Your liaison's biosignature no longer matches baseline. We are dispatching an inspection vessel. Mara didn't blink. Then I suggest you bring a larger ship, Ambassador. The Resolute doesn't open her doors easily. When the line cut, she turned toward the viewport where Sci-fi watched silently, hands folded over her glowing abdomen. They're coming, Sci-fi whispered. Mara nodded. Let them come. Humanity's never backed down from a fight worth winning. Outside, the Resolute drifted in the dark, quiet, patient, armed not just with weapons, but with the unshakable resolve of a crew who had chosen loyalty over orders and hope over fear. They didn't know what the child would become or what it would mean for the galaxy. But every revolution starts the same way, with a circle of trust strong enough to defy the impossible. The Resolute hung in orbit above the red glow of Vera 9, a neutral system where the Galactic Concord was gathering for the annual Science and Diplomacy Summit. Hundreds of ships from across known space filled the void like a swarm of fireflies, each carrying its own ambitions, secrets, and rivalries. Commander Mara Keen stood at the bridge window, watching the endless traffic of starships slide past. This is it, she said quietly. Our one chance to control the story before they control us. Behind her, Lieutenant Rios frowned. And if it goes wrong? Then we stop running, Mara said. And we fight in the light instead of the shadows. The Aurelians were already there, sleek vessels of silver and gold, their symbols glowing like suns. Ambassador Sereth had arrived 2 days early, pushing for a private investigation into Sci-fi's health. The council had refused, but only barely. Their patience was thinning. Sci-fi watched the Aurelian ship on the hollow display, her expression unreadable. They will not forgive this, she said softly. My kind do not like being proven wrong. Mara glanced at her. Then let's give them something unforgettable to remember. Dr. Ishan Patel had spent the last 48 hours compiling the data, molecular scans, bioadaptive charts, and neural resonance models. It all pointed to one impossible truth. Sci-fi's body wasn't just adapting. It was integrating human DNA seamlessly. This discovery could change medicine across species, Patel said, his tired eyes glowing with excitement. Hybrid immunity, universal tissue compatibility, even organ regeneration. It's evolution by cooperation. Kaya Dunn crossed her arms. Or a war by ideology. The Aurelians believe purity equals power. You're about to tell them their own biology disagrees. That's the point, Mara said firmly. They mocked humanity as unstable, emotional, primitive. They thought sending her to me as a joke would make us bow. She turned toward Sci-fi. Now we make sure their joke becomes our victory. The next day, the Grand Galactic Concord Hall opened, a massive sphere of glass and light where thousands of delegates floated in holographic chambers, surrounded by drifting banners of their worlds. Languages shimmered through translators. The air buzzed with politics disguised as politeness. The Terran delegation entered together, Mara, Dr. Patel, Celare, and a small escort of officers. Whispers rippled through the hall the moment Celare appeared at Mara's side, her silver skin glowing faintly, her presence unmistakable. Ambassador Saratha's voice rang from across the floor. "Commander Keen, I see your liaison is well enough to travel. How fortunate. Perhaps the council will finally hear the truth of your experiment." Mara didn't look at him. "They'll hear it," she said, stepping onto the central platform. "From us." When the lights dimmed, Dr. Patel began. He spoke simply, like a teacher to students, explaining the discovery of the adaptive gene complex within Aurelian physiology, the bridge protein that allowed cross-species stabilization. Charts glowed around him, not abstract science, but living evidence. Then came the final scan, 2 heartbeats, perfectly synchronized. The room went silent. Even the Aurelians stopped breathing. Celire stepped forward. "This is not a disease or contamination," she said, her voice calm and clear. "It is proof that the universe does not divide us as cleanly as we believe. I am Aurelian, yet within me now grows life created through human connection. My body accepted what our laws forbid, and what our arrogance denied." A stunned murmur swept through the chamber. Sarath rose sharply. "You dare speak of corruption as evolution? This is blasphemy." Celire met his fury with grace. "Then your gods have a sense of humor." The audience laughed, softly at first, then louder. The laughter broke the tension like a wave. Mara stepped beside her. "When you sent her to me, you meant to humiliate humanity. You called us emotional, reckless, weak." She paused, her eyes blazing. "You were right about one thing. We are emotional. But our emotions built worlds. Our recklessness made us reach the stars. And our weakness." She smiled. "It's just another word for hope." The hall erupted in applause, first hesitant, then thunderous. Delegates of other species leaned forward, whispering to aides, exchanging data, sending requests for research access. Within minutes, the Concord's chairperson declared an emergency session to draft a joint Terran, Aurelian medical initiative. Sarath stood frozen, fury cracking his perfect composure. His own advisors avoided his gaze. The mockery had reversed. The prank had become prophecy. Later, aboard the Resolute, as the ship left orbit, Celare stood beside Mara at the viewport. The red light of Vera 9 faded behind them. "I still don't understand humans," Celare admitted softly. Mara smiled. "Good. The moment you do, we'll probably surprise you again." Celare turned to her, eyes glowing faintly gold. "You turned their laughter into applause." Mara's reflection smiled back from the glass. "No," she said quietly. "We did." And as the Resolute disappeared into the stars, carrying 2 heartbeats that didn't belong to the same world, the galaxy itself began to change its rhythm. The victory at the Galactic Concord Summit should have felt like peace. But on the Resolute, peace never lasted long. For 3 days, the crew basked in the quiet triumph. The story of Celare's revelation had spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Newsfeeds called it the miracle of Vera 9. Even the Terran Council sent a transmission of congratulations. The child inside her, still growing, still impossible, had become a symbol of unity across species. Yet Mara Keen didn't trust symbols. Symbols inspired hope and enemies. That evening, she stood alone on the dimly lit bridge, watching the stars slide past. Lieutenant Rios entered quietly. "Commander, we've received a priority message from Aurelian High Command. Marked diplomatic, encrypted twice." Mara turned. "Let's hear it." The hologram flared to life. The face of Ambassador Sarath filled the room, his golden eyes hard and cold. "Commander Keen," his voice hissed through static. "The Aurelian Council has formally withdrawn from the joint initiative. We demand the immediate return of Celare of House Thalen. Her condition is classified as a state-level biological breach." Rios swore under his breath. "They're calling her a weapon." Mara's jaw tightened. "Cut the transmission." As the hologram vanished, she exhaled sharply. "They're not going to let this go quietly." In the med bay, Celire sat by the observation glass, her hands resting over the gentle curve of her abdomen. The heartbeat she carried was strong now, a steady, impossible rhythm that pulsed through the room's sensors like a song. Dr. Ishan Patel ran another scan, frowning. Her cellular changes are accelerating again. The hybrid cells are forming an independent pattern, almost shielding her from internal stress. Cell-IRA smiled faintly. A mother protects her child, even when her body doesn't understand how. Patel returned the smile, but his eyes were shadowed. You may need that protection sooner than you think. The medbay lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then the ship's AI voice broke through. Warning. Unidentified transmission detected. Signal triangulated within Aurelian diplomatic frequency band. Mara stormed in moments later. Source. Encrypted and bouncing through relay satellites. Rios reported through the comm. It's not coming from outside, Commander. It's being sent from inside our ship. A chill settled over the room. Cell-IRA rose slowly. Someone is calling them. Hours passed in tense silence as the crew hunted the source. Every terminal, every subsystem, every encrypted channel. Until finally, Kaya Dunn's voice crackled through the comm. Found it. Deck 7. Secondary comms relay. Someone's using a maintenance terminal to piggyback off our power grid. Mara didn't wait for backup. She sprinted down the corridor, sidearm drawn. The ship's lights strobed red as she entered the relay room. A figure stood at the console, uniform half torn, fingers trembling over the controls. Step away, Mara ordered. The officer turned. It was Vargas, the science officer she trusted. His eyes were wide with guilt. They promised me asylum, he whispered. They said if I sent them the coordinates, they wouldn't harm her. Vargas, Mara said, voice low, you just handed them a reason to. He shook his head. You don't understand. They have ships in pursuit already. They'll destroy the Resolute if we don't comply. Mara stepped closer. Then let them come. We don't run from tyrants. She deactivated the console with a hard swipe, locking the controls. You're relieved of duty. Rios, seal Deck 7 and purge all relay nodes. Her voice turned cold as space. They want a war. They'll get one. By the next morning, long-range sensors picked up 3 Aurelian cruisers approaching fast, silent, weapons armed, formation tight. Estimated intercept in 7 hours, Rios reported grimly. They're not broadcasting diplomatic codes. Mara looked around the bridge. The crew waited, tense but unbroken. We can't outgun them, she said, but we can outthink them. Patel, prep Cell-IRA for transport. Kaya, warm up the stealth shuttle. Cell-IRA entered the bridge, her silver skin glowing brighter than ever, as if reflecting the rising tension. I won't hide, she said quietly. Running will only prove their point, that I'm dangerous. Mara turned to her, eyes hard but kind. You're not hiding. You're surviving. And that child is the future they're afraid of. I'll handle the rest. Hours later, the Resolute drifted near a nebula's edge, a storm of ionized dust glowing in red and violet. The perfect place to vanish. As the Aurelian ships closed in, Mara's voice echoed over the comm. Attention, Aurelian fleet. This is Commander Mara Keen of the Terran Alliance. You sent one of your own to humiliate humanity. You failed. You sent threats to silence her. You'll fail again. A pause. Then her tone hardened. If you fire on this ship, you fire on the child of 2 worlds. And I promise, the galaxy will remember which side tried to destroy hope. Silence. Then, movement. The Aurelians held position, their golden ships framed against the glowing nebula, caught between pride and fear. Inside the Resolute, Cell-IRA closed her eyes, feeling her heartbeat synchronize again with the one inside her. For a brief, fleeting moment, the nebula around them pulsed, its light responding to the ship's engines as if the universe itself was holding its breath. When the Aurelian ships finally retreated, the crew cheered, but Mara didn't. She knew this wasn't the end. It was only the quiet before a larger storm, one that would decide not just the fate of Cell-IRA and her child, but the future of both species. And as she stood at the bridge, watching the fading trails of the retreating ships, she whispered to herself, they wanted a weapon. We gave them a miracle. Let's see how they handle that. 3 months had passed since the standoff in the nebula. The Resolute floated in orbit above a quiet blue-green world on the border of Terran and Aurelian space, neutral ground, chosen for one reason only. Here, far from politics and pride, the first child of 2 species would be born. Inside the ship, The corridors were hushed. The hum of engines felt softer, gentler, as if the Resolute itself was holding its breath. Commander Mara Keen stood outside the medbay doors, hands behind her back, eyes on the glowing monitor that displayed 2 heartbeats, one steady and familiar, the other small, rapid, and strong. Dr. Patel's voice came through the calm but trembling. She's stable. We're almost there, Commander. Mara exhaled slowly. Almost felt like the longest word in the universe. Hours later, the medbay doors slid open. Patel stepped out first, his uniform streaked with light from the sterile lamps. His face said everything before he spoke. It's done, he whispered. They're both safe. Mara moved inside quietly. Selare lay on the bed, pale but glowing faintly, her silver skin now brushed with warm tones of rose. In her arms rested a small infant, not entirely human, not entirely Aurelian. Her skin shimmered with both shades, light shifting between them like sunrise on water. Tiny fingers clutched at the air, eyes half open, color changing with the light. Mara froze. She's beautiful. Selare looked up, exhausted but smiling. Her name is Lyra. It means bridge between worlds. Mara's throat tightened. A fitting name. She's strong, Selare whispered. Stronger than either of us expected. Patel nodded. Her cells are stable, perfectly balanced between both species. No rejection, no conflict. She's nature's agreement. For a long time, no one spoke. Even the ship seemed silent, listening to the heartbeat of new life that had no precedent in any database, no label in any science, and no borders in its blood. But the peace didn't last. At dawn, a coded transmission reached them, the Aurelian Council. Ambassador Sereth again. His voice, colder than ever. The child must be examined by our physicians. You cannot keep her hidden, Commander. Mara answered calmly. She isn't a secret, Ambassador. She's a miracle. And miracles belong to everyone. You defy the Council's order? He snapped. I don't take orders from fear, Mara said, and cut the line. Later that day, an unexpected visitor arrived. Elder Narai, a senior Aurelian scientist known for her neutrality. Her ship docked without ceremony. When she entered the medbay, even the lights seemed to dim out of respect. I came against the Council's wishes, she said softly, approaching the crib. I had to see the truth myself. Selare watched silently as the elder bent down. The child's small hand reached up, touching the elder's fingers. A faint glow passed between them. Not light, not energy, but something deeper. Recognition. Connection. Narai's eyes shimmered. She carries both songs, she whispered. The human's rhythm and the Aurelian's harmony. This is no violation of nature. This is nature, remembering what it forgot. When she turned to Mara, her face had changed. The Council will try to claim her, but I will speak for you. For her. For what she represents. Mara bowed slightly. Then maybe we still have a chance. Weeks passed. Delegates came and went. Journalists hovered. Treaties shifted. But through it all, the image of the hybrid child spread across the networks, a symbol too powerful to silence. The phrase bridge between worlds became more than a name. It became a movement. On Earth, children painted stars mixed with silver and gold. On Aurelian, scientists whispered about adaptive unity. For the first time in centuries, the two species looked at each other and didn't see rivals. They saw possibility. On the night before the official signing of the new alliance, Mara stood once more by the viewport, watching the twin worlds rotate below. Selare joined her, Lyra asleep in her arms. The baby's small chest rose and fell in rhythm with the hum of the ship. She dreams, Selare said softly. I can feel it, like starlight inside her mind. What do you think she'll be? Mara asked. Selare smiled. Maybe the first person who doesn't have to choose between us. They stood together in silence, the stars reflected in the glass like endless witnesses. Do you ever regret it? Mara asked quietly. Coming here? Being part of this? Selare shook her head. Regret. She looked down at the child, then back at the human commander. No. They sent me to humiliate your species. Instead, you taught me what courage truly means. Your people fight for hope, not because it's easy, but because it's all you have. I think that's why Lyra chose this form. She was never just ours. She belongs to that same hope. Outside, the stars shimmered brighter, almost alive. For a moment, It felt as if the universe itself had leaned closer, listening to the fragile breath of a child who had no enemies, no borders, no fear. And in that quiet, Mara Keen understood something that no treaty could ever write down. The future didn't begin with weapons or wars. It began here, with trust, defiance, and a heartbeat that carried the strength of two worlds. She smiled faintly, whispering to the stars, "Let them laugh if they want. Humanity always laughs last."